The Morning Dump from Hurrdat Sports with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
The only spot for extended thoughts, courtesy of the morning show, Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio. That's Damon Benning. I'm Andrew Rogers, and we are on the Morning Dump now. Where you can find us, that's Hurrdat Sports. This is where this podcast lives, so go to Hurrdat Sports. You can catch either the video form or audio form there. But as I said, we bring things we can't talk about on the show because we run out of time right here. But as the show was concluding, I was scrolling through Twitter DB and I saw a tweet from Chris Lowe of ESPN. And he said, "Don't understand why it's so difficult to celebrate the decisions of Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. to play in Alabama's bowl game and the message it says about team while still respecting decisions of those players who skip bowl games if that's what they choose." And that's kind of a question I asked Bill Bender today on the radio show was, is it bad for the sport if you get the best players not playing in the bowl games? But he said it. I mean, you're still going to watch the game. It's probably harder to predict an outcome. Mm-hmm. But aside from that, I really like how Chris Lowe put it by saying, hey, let's celebrate the positives and celebrate the so-called negatives in this case. The negative from the fan perspective of, oh, my goodness, I can't believe he's not playing. But here's what I wanted to ask you. So based on both sides, I'm going to take Caleb into consideration here. Caleb is a senior in college, and he had one of the best senior seasons ever, which I can totally predict happening, and he's heavily recruited by the NFL, by a team in the NFL or multiple teams. Say he's a first-round pick. If he were to make the decision, what decision do you think he'd make? To sit or to play in a bowl game?
I don't know, especially in another 3 or 4 years. Right now, I would tell you he'd play.
Well, it's obvious that he would play because he played in the
That's what I'm going by. That's what I'm going by. He played knowing that there was some great risk there. So, like right now, I'd say he'd play, but
once you're talking about that money,
it's different with money.
Yep, 100%. When you're talking about, say,
you hope it wouldn't be, but I mean, he definitely, and I would definitely factor in. Depends on what it was too. I mean, if you're playing for a national championship, I mean, we'd have to talk about that.
100%. I think it's completely different in the college football playoff.
There it is. That's tough. Like I said, right now I think he would play, but I don't know. I don't know about it in the future, like another, 3 or 4 years.
Well, so
I just hope to be presented with that problem. How about that?
You know what? If he's getting a signing bonus anywhere from $25 million to $5 million, I'm sure you guys would be feeling pretty good about Caleb. But no, and when money comes into play, it's obvious, but you get it, right? Because, and I don't know the statistics behind it, but how often have we seen a player get injured in a game where it could totally hinder their career at the next level? Like I've seen it before, but I don't know what the percentage is. If it's like 5% of times it's that, or, it's 25%. And if so, if it is a high percentage, as much as I would want to say play in the game because I want to see you play in the game, it's not about me as the fan because I'm like, oh, you're on a team.
I think that's where the struggle is, right? We can't not make it about us. That's really, I think, what Lowe's point was. Like, because it's our opinion, I think we feel either obligated or entitled, maybe both, to share it. But we just don't understand that two things can be true at once. You can appreciate a guy or gal for wanting to do something, and you can also appreciate a guy or gal not wanting to do something because of the situation that they're in. So we don't always have to.
It's not your call.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, we don't always have to share what we don't like, right?
Wait, no, wait. We don't always have to share? Are you sure?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a good
I
point.
feel like we always have to share. If it's not what I think, you're wrong.
Yeah, and I think it's also important that you know my opinion too, which is always the fine line with Twitter because sometimes, like when you tweet things, you assume people want to know, or sometimes when I tweet things, it's just because I feel like saying it. I don't really,
Right.
It's not really about so much you as much as I'm just sharing my thoughts. Because a lot of times, especially if I'm at an event or I'm at home, a lot of times I'm by myself, right? So I'm just talking out loud, you know.
Well, and I'm with you there because you're not posting anything and hoping to trigger some type of response. I mean, maybe you are at certain points because you're like, "Oh, this could get a lot of traction because I know this is a heated, debated topic." But aside from that, if you're tweeting, you normally tweet something that's doesn't really warrant a reaction. You're just tweeting your thought process. As you said, you're kind of sitting at home. If you're sitting alone, you have nobody else to share your thoughts with, so you go to the internet in order to do that. And it's almost looked at as a release, but at the same time, you're just in a pool of your own thoughts. You're watching something, you're like, wow, that's interesting to me. I wonder if it's interesting to somebody else. You're not saying like, oh, I know it's not going to be interesting to this person, and I can't wait to hear what they have to say.
No, I get it, but I mean, sometimes you gotta take the good with the bad. Remember when before I replied to the West Side picture with Governor Ricketts, I told you at a varsity club, I said, "Gosh, I guarantee you, there's going to be people that can't deal with this. So let me just take the politics out of it, right? Especially because you know when your kids involved and people that are being recruited, they obviously want you to stay out of political. I don't want you to stay out of, but they gauge and critique political banter, and because they, colleges want to know what they're getting. So I said, hey, politics aside, and inevitably, somebody. Well, what he really meant. What I love the people that were telling me I meant the reverse of what I like. No, do you know me? Like I'm gonna. If that's what I want you to know, that's what I'm telling you,
Right.
right? It's like there is no. I'm not.
People think way too much into
I said
one-line
exactly.
statements.
I said exactly what I wanted to say about that, right? But of course, it turned it, and then people still feel they want to share because at that point it becomes about them, and they can just as much say, "Well, you made it about you," and I guess that's just the way that it works. But as- assume that, nah, never mind. We can't assume, but yeah, it's just wild, man. People just
No,
like to share, I guess.
no, I mean it's totally different when you're dealing with words opposed to if you're speaking. Because when you're speaking, you can get to your point in the amount of time versus the hey, I'm going to write something down and send a text, and you don't really know my tone. You don't really know what I mean until you ask another question. But instead of asking, more often than not, people jump and they jump at you.
Mhm.
And whether that's a take like this, because Chris Lowe has had a ton of different comments about people being like, this is a team game. You play for your team. We don't raise quitters, things like that. It's like, well, he's not quitting. He is just making the educated decision he knows
Yeah.
for his future. Because if he were to blow his ACL in this game, if he were to hurt his back for some reason and he can't play at the next level, what if he's trying to be the one in his family that pulls them out of, a certain living situation,
Mhm.
or a bad environment, or he's just trying to give back to his parents because they did everything to help him get to this point.
Don't go being rational.
Yeah. Why should I do that? Why
Nobody
should I do
wants
that?
nobody wants to hear all that.
Like I said, man, I'm on like both sides. I'm like, hey, I want you to play, but I'm not going to hold it against you if you don't play.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
it's your decision at the end of the day. Put yourself in their shoes. Let's take Caleb out of the equation. Let's put both of ourselves in the Jackson Smith and Jigba's shoes, right? Let's just put ourselves in his shoes. And we're not playing in the college football playoff because we know we're going to be a top 10, top 15 pick potentially. If I know I'm getting $16, $17 million as a signing bonus and I can just focus on getting myself ready for that level and not getting hurt, I would probably do that. Mm-hmm. I think most people would do that if they saw 10 digits following a comma, right?
Well, again, you start making sense and people don't want to hear it. It's a team, man. It's a team game.
And I get it. Look, I really do get it. You take a step back by not having your best player in the lineup. But, I mean, if we keep this example relevant, Ohio State didn't need Jackson Smith and Jigba this year. Mm-hmm. If they had him, would it have looked different? Maybe. Maybe they beat Michigan. Maybe, but they still lost by 22. Oh. Is Jackson Smith and Jigba really catching 3 touchdowns? Is he really providing a special effect that gets by Michigan? It's highly doubtful.
I think, fans, it's just hard, right? We know what it's short for, fanatics. And so sometimes I think you just want your team to win. And if you really sat some of those people down at the end of the day, I think they would understand, right? And until you're in that situation, I think it would be hard to really critique and be vehement one way or the other. When you're talking about someone else, right? It's like, dude, it's not your jam. Like, let it ride.
I'm completely with you. I'm still excited to watch these games.
Yeah.
I'm still going to sit down in front of the TV and watch nearly every college bowl game. One, because I'm kicking DB's butt in our bowl predictions, which I should still send you the photo.
Yeah.
What's the score right now?
He's up 1.
See, Shane is so heavily involved into knowing this too. I pull out our handy dandy scripts. I feel like I'm so like 1990s fantasy football here. Marshall. Oh, Marshall. Yeah. And Marshall. Everybody had Marshall. So we're up 1. It's 8-7, Shane.
Yeah, kicking and hold that thought too. Long season ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But you know what? If this was the 9th inning, we'd win.
Right.
Hey, I will send you this photo, though. I will not forget today so that you can have it on standby. And Shane, or I'll send you yours that as well. But I'm happy Shane brought his voice to the show because it's a great transition to have a little fun before we close out Morning Dump. I've been wanting to have a lot of fun on Coffee and Cream because I know our listeners really enjoy our the games that we play, the segments that we have. But it's just been crazy in regards to actual sports topics. And not to say we can't mold a lot of the games around sports topics, but Damon and I talk way too much to have anybody else try to butt in. But it's the perfect time here on the dump to hear Shane's voice once again. Shane, is the music playing? I think I kind of hear it. Yeah, there it is. You want to play Take It or Leave It? Let's do it.
So you want me to butt in and ask you, take it or leave it, Nebraska makes a bowl game before Colorado.
Oh, that's a good one.
How's Colorado's schedule next year? I don't
it
really
includes Nebraska, and let's assume that's the swing game. Give me Nebraska. I will. Colorado's got a tough schedule.
Okay.
I will take it.
You know what? Bill Bender did say 5-7 would be a successful season, but that wouldn't be a bowl game season.
Yeah, I'm going to take it, Shane.
I think
so. So check this out, Andrew. So, and for Colorado next year, okay. Wow, this is. Did I have that right? No, I lost it again real quick. That's great. Maybe it's not finished.
Oh no, you're good. I was just going to touch on Nebraska's schedule here, and I actually think it's.
Well, I know that one.
Easy schedule. Like an easier schedule, something that we saw from last year to this year.
So here we go. So they're at TCU. They get Nebraska at home, Colorado State in a rivalry, which hasn't been much of one, at Arizona State. They get Arizona at home, Oregon State, Stanford, SC, Oregon, at UCLA, at Utah, at Washington State.
Holy cow.
So they closed with 4 roadies in the conference. Yeah, I don't know. I'll take Nebraska first.
I think I'm going to take Nebraska too. No Ohio State, no Penn State again.
Yeah. Give me Nebraska.
Take it or leave it. Creighton will be a 4 seed or better come March Madness.
They'd really have to turn it around.
They'd have to get 2 wins over UConn.
They'd have to get one at least against Villanova.
Villanova won't be the highest ranked though, so maybe Xavier, Providence, maybe Seton Hall, could be St. John's. What do we know? They're 11-1 right now.
What is up with St. John's? I know we kind of touched on that.
I
With
know,
Joel.
right?
What's in the water over there?
4 seed or higher.
Do they have to win the East?
I'll tell you what, though. I don't think they have to win the East to get.
It has to be a close second though, because
the tournament.
Yeah, they'll have to be close, Andrew. Like.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 6 losses. How many 6-loss teams get a 4 seed?
And that's if they ran the table. But if they ran the table, they would have multiple wins over really good basketball teams. I'm going to 4 seed or higher.
So I'm assuming that means 4-1.
Yeah, I'll leave it. I see a 5 or 6 in their future.
So
I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
The reason I brought up Villanova, and I know they haven't had a great start either, but they were also a team highly ranked, highly touted,
and they'll get a healthy Moore back.
Mm-hmm. So you're right though when you mentioned Xavier. St. John's is kind of the outlier. Not really sure who they are just yet, even though they are 11-1 on the year. I will. If they win the Big East, DB, do they get the 4 seed?
But I don't think they win the Big East.
But if they do they get the 4 seed?
Yeah, they're 4 better.
I'm going to take it. I'm going to say they get that Big East championship and they get the 4 because of it. Whether or not their record says,
well, write that down.
Yeah, 21-10 or however many
that's
games.
a good one though. That's a good one.
So write that down on your board back behind you there, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. Where it says, "What's up, DB?"
Yeah. Take it or leave it. Apple over Android.
I'm an Apple guy, and I know DB's not.
I'm a Droid guy, but I could probably learn Apple, but just because the Android is what I'll know, I'll take the Android.
Everything I have is Apple. Like my Mac is Apple, which that probably causes a little issue for you, DB, because the apps aren't the same.
I know. I'm working on it though. I'm trying to broaden my horizons, Drew.
Take it or leave it. You will open up a gift this Christmas that will get regifted next year.
I don't know if I've ever re-gifted anything in my life because I feel too bad. I feel like it gets donated before it gets.
I've probably given something away for sure. I don't know if I've re-gifted. I'll definitely take it that I'll get something that I won't use.
But are you going to re-gift it?
No, I'll leave it. I won't re-gift it.
I don't think I'd re-gift either, but that's a funny one because I think it's every year somebody gets something, whether it's like a white elephant gift or, it comes under the Christmas tree. Everybody gets something that they're like, here's the thing. Somebody doesn't like your gift when they say what your gift is out loud. So like if DB gifted me headphones,
yeah.
I'd open and be like, oh, wow, headphones. Yeah.
Oh, wow, a tie. Yeah, that's a great call. If you say the gift out loud, you probably don't like it.
Oh, wow, a wagon.
Yeah, exactly.
Take it or leave it. When eating wings, sauce is better on the side than covered.
Oh, for sure. Take it all day long.
I'm going to leave it.
I'm a sauce on the side guy.
No, I like mine doused.
Oh, no way.
As long as you still have that crispiness to it.
That's the key.
I'm good with it. But even
I like the bread.
I like some softer chicken wings.
What's that?
I said sometimes I like softer chicken wings. Peel off the bone, tender.
Yeah. I like a little crispy skin though.
Hale Varsity Club has some pretty good wings.
Oh, they're looks all bias aside, they're unbelievable.
No, total bias.
They're
You're at Hale Varsity Club.
They're unbelievable.
You guys want to do one more?
Yeah, let's do another.
Okay, take it or leave it. When Matt Rule leads Nebraska to a national championship, the state should declare it a national holiday.
Oh, Lord.
Take it. That's what Argentina did. Why not?
If or when?
If?
Sure, why not?
I don't care if it's either.
Yeah, why not? Make it a national holiday.
Do we have to do podcasts on that day?
Probably. It's what the people want.
Yeah, we're here for the people.
You're wild.
Shaner, you are the man. We appreciate you hopping on, big guy.
We'll take it or leave it. The Buccaneers won't make the playoffs.
Oh.
I wanted to get that one in there because I like it when the Buccaneers don't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
I took every
because Tom Brady seems to be in the playoffs all the time.
As Andrew can attest, I took every under for Dennis Allen was my coach of the year, and the Saints were supposed to win the South. I was not on the Bucs bandwagon.
Hey, where are Tom Brady's Buccaneers? Under his bucking hat.
Oh, wow.
You're welcome.
Oh, jeez. The dad joke. Awful premature, Drew Down.
Hey, you know what? That's me in a nutshell. I'm just premature in everything I do.
I will leave it.
Was the prompt don't make the playoffs? Like won't make the playoffs?
Read it again, Shane.
Okay, take it or leave it. The Buccaneers won't make the playoffs.
Won't make the playoffs.
Oh, won't make.
Who gets in over them, DV?
I don't know, but it's only a game separating those guys. You know what I mean?
And they don't look good. Offensively, they look atrocious. And defensively, they should be much better, but they aren't.
Yeah, right now they're snug at the 4 because they would have won their conference. Will they win their conference? They're at Arizona next. They'll win that game.
Right.
Arizona's trash.
And then they have 2 conference games with the Panthers and the Falcons on deck.
And they should beat the Falcons, even though the Falcons are dangerous.
So
well, who's starting? Is it Marcus Mariota or is it Desmond Ridder? I think you have a better chance of winning if it's Mariota.
Kyle, their last 3 games are Arizona, Carolina, and Atlanta. They're going to go 2-1, aren't they?
But if they go 1-2, then you bounce back on, you're going to have tiebreakers and different things like that. But the Panthers,
I'll take it. I think they're in.
So the Panthers have the Lions, the Bucks, and the Saints.
Yeah, that's tough.
The Saints have the Browns, the Eagles, and the Panthers.
Yeah, that's brutal. Give me Tampa Bay getting in.
And the Falcons have the Ravens, Cardinals, and Bucks.
So what'd you say earlier in the week, Damon, like about the Raider game? You've in 48 years of watching football.
44, because I'm 48. So I started about 4, where I kind of knew what was going on. So I do remember the Steelers, Cowboys Super Bowl downstairs with my dad.
So in the last 44 years, have you ever said a Lions game will be tough for somebody?
No.
That might be the first time I've ever heard that.
I don't remember ever saying that.
Hey, do the Lions make the playoffs?
Gosh, I hope so, because
that should be a take it or leave it.
I like their over 7 win total. So I'm happy about that.
Man, I will, in regards to our initial prompt, I will take it, right?
I'll take it too, yeah.
Right.
Don't love it, but I'll take it.
I'm going to take it. Okay. Thanks, Shaner.
If you don't love it, leave it. Stay number 1.
That's awesome.
And thank you for joining the show this morning. We appreciate your time. We'll be back tomorrow morning on Coffee and Cream. Hey, before we let people go, though, is tomorrow the bad weather?
Shane, tomorrow night, is that when it starts?
It'd be
late tomorrow night, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can wish people safe travels tomorrow.
Absolutely, because we're gonna need it.
Well, yeah. Have you seen the forecast? Have you
What's
seen the radar?
No.
The radar looks insane.
I don't know how to read radar really, so I just listen to
They have like a prompt on the side. It's like when you were in geography and they have like.
That doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. Then they start talking about wind gusts and maybe pushing it this way, and Yeah, I don't know, man. I just haven't committed myself to knowing it.
It's okay. That's why we have other people like, Andy Kendi and Kevin Suits to do the job for us over there at their respective stations, asking their meteorologists.
Hey, and then I just asked those guys, hey, what'd your coworkers say?
Yeah, after the report is done, after he or she does the weather, you text him right away and you're like, hey, I didn't understand any of that.
Exactly.
Why does it say 78 on Thursday?
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, buddy.
Oh, man.
We're not getting it.
DB, I'll talk to you tomorrow, and we will talk to everybody else tomorrow as well on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Morning Dump. Catch us wherever you get your podcast. That's Apple, that's Spotify. Catch any recap of the show, the radio show that you miss under Hail Varsity Radio, wherever you get your podcast. Toss Damon Benning a follow at Damon Benning on Twitter. Pretty easy. Toss myself at Andrew Rogers TV or the show itself at H Varsity Radio. We will see you tomorrow.